Hi there. In this video I'm going to talk you through the different Eighteeth endo motors that we retail on the website and the differences with them. But this is also a guide that you can apply to all the different brands because they tend to have the same range available. Okay, so what we've got. So this is the E-xtream, and most brands have got one of these. This is a very lightweight, very ergonomic endo motor, but it doesn't have any integration or special functions with an apex locator. Okay, so that's the main difference between these, is the integrations and special functions you get with an apex locator. The next one here is the eConnect S. This one has an integrated apex locator, so it has got special functions with an apex locator, which we'll come to later. And these are, just to give you an idea, these are functions like auto reverse, auto stop, auto start even, when you get into the canal, and they can make it a little bit easier. And they're all with these extra functions that rely on the motor connecting to the apex locator. And then you have the eConnect Pro, which I really like. I like all of them, but this one is very nice, and it connects to the ePEX Pro, so a standalone unit. And when they work together, this is a very nice endo motor, and it then links to get those additional apex locate built-in functions. Okay. So in this exercise, I'm just going to walk you through that apex locator and how they work and the slight differences. All right. So the thing to think about when you're doing a root canal is the actual ergonomics of it. Is that at some point, right, most people I know wouldn't go straight in with a rotary file. So even if you're going to get a size 10 file to the apex and get your working length, or you're going to get a glide path with a size 10 file and use a mechanized glide path file, then you're going to need to go down with a hand file and take a working length reading with an apex locator. And that's probably one of the most important parts of the endodontic procedure. So there are different ways of doing that with the different systems, and then different benefits and options afterwards. So here's the model I'm going to use to do this little demonstration for you in the next sort of 20 minutes or so. Oopsie-doo. Right. So here it is. I've got a regular endo training block here, just so you can see what I've done. So here's a regular endo training block, and it's in this special jig which has got a wire here, and then it's got conductive gel sitting in here. So I've just blocked it with some silicone to hold that steady, and so there's not too much gel. But basically, when I collect a file clip here, I'll be able to get a apex locator reading because of this conductive gel I've got in here. So I'm going to use that to do a bit of a demo and look at it. The other thing I'm going to do, just to make it a little bit more realistic, is I'm just going to cover over so that we can't see the practice tooth with a little bit of a rubber dam here. Okay, so let's go ahead. I've put the file clip on already. So this is the standalone apex locator. It's got a lead that comes down. One end of the lead goes to the patient's lip, and the other end can either have a file clip like this, or you can actually connect, which I really like to do a lot of the time, one of these touch probes here instead. So when you're tight for room, I recommend the touch probe. But the file clip's obviously fine for this scenario. So always before I start, I make sure it's all connected up, and I'll touch the probe to the lip hook just to make sure we're getting a reading. And that generally means that you've got the wires connected up correctly. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the clip onto my size 10 file, and I've cheated a little bit because I've already done a little bit of scouting and pre-flaring, so I can do this straight away and get the apex locator to give me a reading. So I'm going to bring it into the canal, work it down, and keep an eye on the screen, and we should start to see it coming on screen and giving us a reading. Now the only real accurate reading here is, just make sure this clips on properly, is where it gets to the 0, 0 point. So anything above the 0, 0 here is the apex locator trying to come up with a reading, and that's based on a resistor basically. So when the file touches the periodontal ligament, you get the 0, 0 reading, and anything before that is an approximation done by this computer system. So I'm just going to work my way down, and I find that you do this very, very gently like this, it suddenly will go straight away, especially with this model. So here we go, suddenly get a reading, and you just chip back up. Right, and I'm trying to get, I'm just going to touch it, touch it, touch it, until I get the 0, 0 reading. I'm just very gently touching that. And always you go through and you go back. Come on. There you go. I've got a really lovely 0, 0 reading. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'll take that off just so you don't get the beeping. And then I'm going to get that bung to a reproducible reference point so that I know where the 0 reading is the working line. So I can just pop that out and we can give that a measure. And there's a little jig, and I'm getting 18 millimeters when I do that. Okay, so now I've finished getting my working length, and I've got a size 10 file that's to patency, and it's sitting and it's nice and smooth, so it's got a good glide path. The next thing I'm going to do in my sequence is do a rotary glide path file, and I'm going to pick up my eConnect Pro. Okay, and I'm going to turn this on. And it's a very lovely motor. This is the oldest of the 3, but it's great value and incredibly good still, even though it's a few years old. So it's got a lot of functions. So you have a reciprocating mode, which you can set the forward and reverse. Then you've got all the continuous taper ones. So you can have M1 through to M9 preset. Very quick to set though. All you need to do to set it is to press the S button, and then we can set the speed. So for my glide path file, it'll be a 300 RPM, but I could change that. I can press S again to set the torque, and these are generally low, 1.5 for a glide path file because they're thin. And the direction, I don't know why you ever put reverse, I always have forward. And if you just use that motor like that, that would be all you get. You get a very, very nice, very good value endodontic motor. But the magic comes when you connect this wire here to the apex locator and you plug it, whoops, here's the wire, into the bottom of your motor. Okay, and this is going to unlock these additional functions that you get with an integrated apex locator without actually having to have an apex locator integrated. Okay, so how do we unlock that? Well, we're going to press it'll save your presets, but I'm going to set it now. So I'm just going to hold S. Okay, and it's going to go connect function. Do I want that? Yes. Now, functions I like, it has apical reverse, which I'm going to say yes to, automatic stop and start, which I'm going to say yes to, and apical slow down, which I'm going to say yes to. So I want all of those features. Apical reverse is going to push me out when I get to a certain point known by the apex locator, and same with the slow down. Start stop means that the motor will actually start itself when I pop it into the canal. Might not work on this perfectly, but on a real tooth it works really well because it's slightly wet and you get a reading always. Okay, so the next thing to do is set when, or you don't do this every time, but you set when that's going to kick in. When is this apex locator going to tell this to do those special functions? Right, and you see this button here, this set button? So you can set it to the 0.0, which is probably too late because we're trying to prepare 0.6 or 0.5. So I leave it on 0.5 because I'm going to try and prepare to 0.5 mils away from the apex. Although for the glide path file, you might actually want to take that down to 0 point because those files you're trying to take right down to do that to through to the patency. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my glide path file on. I'm going to set it to my working length. Okay, right, so I'm just going to bring it to the canal and see if that automatic starts working. No, it hasn't, so I'll press that button and we're going to go just 1, 2, 3 pecks and stop. And then we're going to go ahead and irrigate. And go with our size 10 and just make sure we've got patency. Okay, so just about there, just going to bring that in again. So here we go, and control here. You can see we start to come down the apex locator. Just turn that on and you see what happens as I get there. It's going to slow down, push me out, okay, automatically at the reading I've set, which is actually at the apex locator, actually at the 0, 0. and I could change that. I could bring it 0.6 away from the 0 reading, and it will push me out earlier. Okay, so I would generally have it on at that bit further away, because you can see it just takes a few seconds to stop it from moving down to bring it back. So it's not an excuse to have no control at all, but it's going to really help you from going through too far. It's an extra step. You see that? It's just pushing me right out as I get there. There you go, and I've made my space. Okay, so let's just give that a little wash again, and then we can think about the next step, which is to do our shaping. Okay, and that one is at 300 but 2 Newton centimeters, which is quite common for them to be a little bit more. So I can press, and I could change this one. So I just put that up, or I could have that as a preset if I use this file system a lot. So 300 at 2, that's fine. So let's set this now. So we're going to do it to 0.5 back from the 0 working length reading. So it should be 17.5. So the ergonomics of this are very nice, because you have the apex locator set up to the patient's lip, and the wire from the motor is only going to the apex locator. So what I like about this is the motor isn't connected to the patient's lip directly, and I find that a little bit preferable in terms of ergonomics. So the next thing to do is talk about how it works if you don't do that, if you have an integrated apex locator. Well, the thing is, you're still going to need to take a working length with a hand file. So you use these as your actual apex locator, and I would say there's not a lot of point having one of these. It costs a bit more unless you're going to make use of that. So that's number one. I'll show you how to do that. It's also, this is a slightly heavier motor, slightly maybe less ergonomic because of that, but it's also a newer motor and more powerful. So it's a brushless motor, which maybe means the service life would be hopefully longer, is one of the things about that. It's also, it has a couple of extra functions. It's a little bit more customizable, and it has some presets in the settings. So very nice motor, and it's a particularly good one if you're looking for an integrated one. Okay, so how do we use this for an apex locator? Well, we've got to put a little wire up its bottom. So we push that in here, which is where it gets its power from as well when it's charging. And we want to sit it in its bay. And that would sit on your worktop, because this is going to be your apex locator. So how did I do it when I was practicing? I'm going to set it on that so you can see it, okay? So that is then connected to, okay, this lead here, okay, which is basically your apex locator. So your apex locator is this, and it's joined to the mouth. So I'm going to unclip this file clip, and I'm going to clip in instead this, am I doing that right? Nope. And I'm going to clip in instead the lip clip onto the eConnect S. And then these are interchangeable. I'll take the file clip, okay, and I'll connect that to the eConnect S as well. So there's our thing, and the apex locator is setting, sorry, come back to these. Apex locator is setting M0, so that's, you can cycle through, there's lots of presets like the other one, but M0 is where we want to be for the apex locator element of it. So you'd sit this back, you're going to put your file clip on your file, okay, and then I'm going to introduce that into the file, into the thing. Okay, and can you see it's going to give me a really accurate, just as accurate as the larger one, but a smaller screen. And you would sit this on your worktop, and you're going to work your way down, over. This one's already prepared, so it might be a little more tricky, but that should be right. And I'll work my way down until I get my 0.0. So you connect your hand file to it, get your 0.0 as before. Beautiful. Measure that off and take your working length reading from that. Okay, that done. Okay. You then can get rid of the file clip. Okay, so you can just sit that away, because you don't need it. It's going to be then integrated into the apex locator, the endodontic motor itself, and then I'll just go with that finisher file that I've just used. You can put that in. Go to the different settings. So this one is a newer motor. So one of the things they've updated is they've put some presets on. So you can pick Wave 1 or Pro Glider or some of the common ones, but it also has the exactly the same function as we had before, where you can alter the speed of these here. So when you press S on those, it will give you some options. So you can have it in forward or reverse mode, and then it has another one called ATC, which I'll explain in a moment. So forward, you can set the speed, you can set the torque, auto start, auto stop. Apical action you can set, and you've got your reference point, which is what I was doing earlier, and you've got a little bit more further option of that. So there's a 0 point, so we want to get, there's 1 mil, so we probably want to be around here. Okay, press S, and that's all set, ready to go at those settings. Okay, so one of the things is it'll show the apex locator here, so you have to have the head at the right angle for you to be able to see that. So I quite like the larger panel just for that, but there's an advantage, I suppose, in having it all integrated. So you can then pop that in, and it's pushing me out because I haven't set that down, and it'll push me out at the point that I've said. ATC mode then, if we set that, is this one here, and what this does is you know when we normally hit the torque limit of the file, so this one maybe is at 3 Newton centimeters, then what happens is the file will stop or go into reverse, and sometimes that's not optimal and it will slow down treatment. So the ATC mode, what it does is it will, if you get to that torque limit, it's going to change the file from going continuously, and it will set it into a reciprocating motion. And the thought is that by doing that, it kind of allows you to carry on progressing without having to stop, and it sort of stops that backing up or potential of creating a ledge in that. So that's what that function is for. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So you've got this integrated apex locator, which you use with your hand file first in here, and then you use it to give you those additional endodontic features like automatic reverse and start stop that come when you integrate. Okay, so that brings me to the last motor to explain, which in a way is the easiest one. It's the E-xtream, and this has been made not to connect with an apex locator. It's been literally made to give you the lightest and the best ergonomics. So they've sacrificed some features to make it lighter. It's by far the lightest. It's under 100 grams, compared to the eConnect, which is a medium size, and the eConnect S is even a little heavier again. So it's really, really light. In terms of using it, it is a newer model, so it has got the preset files. I didn't show you how to do this on the last one, so I'll just show you. So if you go on to, say, M8 or M9, any of these presets, and you want to set a file system, you hold the S button, and they have programmed in a bunch of different ones available. So you can work your way down, and you could find, let's say that you like to use, what have we got? M2 Pro Taper. A lot of people use that, don't they? So I can go ahead and click on that one, and it gives me the Pro Taper settings automatically, because the popular ones are preset. And obviously, what's quite nice about that is then when you're working your way up and down, you'll see the writing of that. So this is E-flex files, which are Eighteeth ones, and that's going to give you an aid memoir. But if you don't mind programming them in, that works absolutely fine as well. And the M0 is going to be that forward and reverse one. So reciproc files, they're there, so I can select that. So forward 30, reverse 150. I hope I said that right earlier in the video, so if I didn't, so just check, but that's the reciprocating one. Okay, so yeah, other things about this is it's a slightly less powerful motor, so I think it's got a maximum RPM. There's a nice little diagram which I'll put up on the video now, but it sort of a maximum of 500 RPM, whereas the others go up to 1,000. But of course, when you're doing endodontics, that's not really a big deal. So it should be plenty powerful enough for what we're trying to do. So I will just pop in a reciprocating file. So I should say the eConnect S has a little bit more ability to change the torque and the exact angle on the reciprocating, whereas the other two are a little bit more. I think the torque is standard, but in that Wave 1 and Reciproc don't let you know the torque settings anyway. I don't think it makes much difference, but that one is a little bit more customizable. So we've got the reciprocating motor going, and we can work our way in. Okay, so this file and endodontic motor do not have the opportunities to do the auto reverse and auto stop because it won't connect to an apex locator. But if you don't mind that lack of functionality, then it is going to give you a really ergonomic and excellent motor, which is incredibly good value for money. So to conclude, this is the kind of things you see in the ranges. You generally get a lightweight one, which has slightly fewer features, which is really based around ergonomics of being very light and good access. And in the Eighteeth range, this is the E-xtream. Then you often have one which connects to a larger and separate apex locator, so by a separate lead. And this is the eConnect Pro in the Eighteeth range, and this is a little older now, but it was really their flagship motor, and it's an absolute bargain at the moment, so I'd highly recommend that one. And then you have ones with an integrated apex locator, so if you're only looking to buy one thing, a little bit heavier because of that. This is the most advanced motor of the three, but a little bit bigger for that, and it will do your apex locator and all those integrated functions as well. So that's with these integrated ones, and the Eighteeth version is the eConnect S. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful to maybe sort of uncover the different motors and the advantages of different ones. And if we have any questions, we'll try and help as much as we can.